Onlyfacts Sports podcast, welcome back, episode 6.
Yeah.
Conor Benn, Chris Eubank.
I think that's the only place to start, really.
We got to start there. You know what I'm saying? It's finally here. 2 years later.
Mm-hmm. And to be fair, yeah, we're at a stage where I can honestly say I'm looking forward to it.
Because of the egg slap.
No, nothing to do with the egg slap.
Partly to do with the egg slap. You literally said you weren't looking forward to it, and then when the egg slap happened, you said,
let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Because the beef is real. The beef is real.
The eggs are real.
Yeah, it's real. Like, it's a real... Like, this ain't a manufactured thing. And the truth...
I can't see them hugging after the fight.
Literally, or shaking hands after. This is a real fight. This is two men who genuinely don't like each other.
To be fair, one of the kind of segments we were going to discuss is what happens next year, but there might have to be a rematch.
We'll get to that.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I don't think so. I just
don't know what's there for either one of them. So that's why I feel like...
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a topic in itself. I feel like that in itself is a topic in itself.
Well, let's talk about it now.
Okay.
Let's just
No. Because I want to build up to who I think's gonna win.
Okay, fine.
Because part of what's gonna be next is based on who I think's gonna win. And I feel, but just relaying it back to the whole thing, like the main point is the fight in itself. Why I'm so intrigued with the fight is because for me it's like I've seen so many manufactured beef in this country, like GMO beef, bro. No grass-fed beef. This is GMO, bro.
Yeah, pure pesticides.
Trust me, and this fight here is real.
Yeah.
These two men don't like each other.
Yeah.
And it ain't gonna be no feel-out rounds or none of that. It's going to be an absolute war. And more than anything, bro, more than anything, because I've heard Eddie Hearn say, he doesn't know why people are against the fight. And he's like, we got two world-level fighters. I'm like, they aren't world level. They are two very flawed fighters. And I think because they're both flawed fighters, because they're going to make so much mistakes, that's why it's going to be so entertaining.
I think people still like to see a fight where there's real needle. Mm-hmm. There's something to see in someone put their whole ego on the line, and someone's ego is going to be crushed.
That shit get banged.
Do you know what I'm saying? This would be obviously Conor Benn's never lost. Eubank's only lost to world champions. But this would hurt. This would, and obviously it would hurt the most because it's not even a world level fight to go and lose to Conor Benn. But I think on a personal level, this would hurt. I don't know his relationship with Billy Joe Saunders, but I don't imagine he has real beef with George Groves or anything like that.
He doesn't have he had beef with Saunders. He didn't have beef with Groves, and I think even with the whole Groves thing, I guess there was a little bit of. There was a built-in excuse to Groves. Obviously, he was at 68. Groves is a natural 68. But Groves is also a world champion.
Yeah.
So you tried to win a world title, you lost. You know what I'm saying? There's no shame in that.
Yeah.
Losing to someone who's 2 weight classes below you, I think there's shame in that.
And someone that's not world level.
And someone who's not world level.
Cool. And now there's an argument, Chris Eubank maybe isn't world level today, but he's been world level. And
we can also make the argument that, in fact, let me ask you this. Do you feel like, because for me it doesn't, but I was born in 1998. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like the Nigel Benn, Chris Eubank Sr. rivalry makes it more intriguing, or do you think that's just...
Yeah.
You think for
100%. I mean, not necessarily for me. I was born in 93. But for people like my dad, yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're seeing their sons coming, it's like off topic, on topic, Jack Wilshere is managing Norwich at the moment. He's like interim manager for Norwich, and he's going to play Cardiff. Who's managing Cardiff currently?
No.
Aaron Ramsey.
Oh, swear.
So Jack Wilshere against Aaron Ramsey as managers.
Yeah, mad.
It's interesting. Do you know what I mean? If you're somebody that grew up in the era of watching these two play, it'll be interesting seeing them go head to head. And they're friends, not even their enemies. Do you know what I mean? So, and the beef of Nigel Benn and Eubank was very real. Do you know what I'm saying? So it has to add some intrigue.
I feel like it does, because for them, they were raised in it. For them two,
yes,
they were raised in it. They saw the effects that it had on
both
their
dad's
fathers.
careers are very much defined by
That
one another.
Facts.
You know what I mean?
You know, like Fraser and Ali.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like if Ali and Fraser ever had sons that fought each other, Fraser's son did actually box. But, but like even the fact that like they were two representatives of, at the time in the 90s, two very different cultures of black people. Black people were trying to establish themselves in Britain still, and there were two different kind of directions that you went in. If I look at my family, I've got some cousins that are maybe not quite Chris Eubank Sr, but they tried to go that kind of road. And then they've got people that's Nigel Benn that went that kind of road. And the families, typically, you go to most big black family barbecues or Christmases, and the cousins them are just split like that. But guess what? They both fell in love with a white woman and got two mixed race pitneys. So the truth is, But if we're keeping it real though,
you might be obsessed. You bring up white women every podcast.
No, we're just
you might be obsessed. You bring up white women every podcast. Every podcast you bring it up. Just try it, man.
That's so funny. But I feel like why I wasn't so intrigued with the first fight and why I'm so intrigued with the second fight is because the first fight I felt like it was a manufactured thing. I felt like they were just doing it because they were sons. It was
heavily reliant on their dad's legacy,
because they were the son of their fathers. But now, after all the contamination, or egg contamination or PD,
I think Chris Eubank genuinely feels disrespected. I think Chris Eubank Jr feels genuinely disrespected. We saw the video, it's on our channel. Shane was over in Saudi. You got the clip of Conor Benn walking up on him when he was fighting in Saudi. And I think that Chris Eubank thinks, you are several levels below me. You've not fought at, is he fought at European level? Conor Benn? Just about?
Yeah.
So you fought at around European level. I've been fighting at world level. Who are you to walk me down? Who are you to kind of... You know, the fact that when this fight first came out, some people kind of had it as a 50-50, the promotion around it. Obviously, Eddie's the bigger name promoter because it's him and Ben Shalom. I think if Chris Eubank maybe had Frank Warren in his corner, maybe the promotion would be more in his favour. But Eddie's walking around saying these are two world-level fighters. I think Chris must feel very disrespected that some people had this down as a 50-50, or some people had this down as when they said Chris Eubank would win, they were leaning on Chris Eubank's going to win because he's bigger. And Chris Eubank's thinking, I'm just better than him. How dare you? I mean, the pure disrespect he must feel.
I feel like, for me, and what Ben's done a great job indirectly. He hasn't even done it directly. But he's done a great job in making people hate him.
Yeah.
And because of that, now people are also tuning in to just see him lose.
Yeah.
Whereas with Eubank, that's normally Eubank's MO.
Yeah.
That's normally Eubank's place where he stands. But I'll be real, it's also made me more intrigued within this fight because when I watched it, when the first fight was happening, I'm like they're just almost selling Ben's because I'm like, this guy can't win. He has no way of winning. But at that time, I was also 50-50 because I'm like, Ben had come off some good performances. Since then, it's been terrible performances. He's come off like some real bad performances. So I'm like, I guess...
Chris Eubank's lost though.
Exactly.
But not by stoppage.
No, he did. He got stopped by Smith.
That's what I'm saying. He's been stopped.
He got lost by a stoppage. So I feel like seeing that, it's now made me go, rotted. Okay, there is actually now a method in which Conor Benn can win. Whereas the first time around, I saw no way.
Even when Chris avenged that loss to Smith and came back and beat him, Smith had a leg injury, he couldn't walk. There was some extenuating...
I don't have Bomac anymore.
Do you know what I mean? There's some extenuating circumstances behind that. Yeah, Bomac with him at the time. He don't have that coach anymore. Jonathan Banks, some people rate him. He's a reasonable coach, but he's just not. He's not Bomac, is he? So, and then again, it's just adjusting. It's more, Eubank's life is a life of turbulence. Do you mean in his boxing
2 years
career,
older than he was last time as well.
And his life and his boxing career is just pure turbulence, constant changing, and a lot of that is his fault, in my opinion. Even to be fair, like I say, where he probably feels disrespected with the way that people are making this fight out to be like a 50-50 or a close fight or whatever, he might feel disrespected, but he's put himself in all these positions. Other than Conor Benn's drug situation, you chose to accept this fight. You chose to go and drain yourself at the weight. You chose all of these different things. You know, you choose to not listen to coaches and constantly change your coaches because you've had identity issues in the past. These seems to have come through that now. Seems to listen to his coaches more now. But you've chosen to waste your prime years with. Do you know what I mean? Like I struggle to empathise with Chris Eubank Jr.
I don't think, as it currently stands, I don't think Eubank even is looking for sympathy at this time. I think true. I think as it currently stands, and I guess it gets to the B for the conversation. As it currently stands, Eubank is literally in it for fame, fortune. There isn't a legacy to it. And yeah, I guess the legacy, you know, it will be if Ben's win or Ben's lose, you know, if Eubank's win, I guess there's that. And there's saving face, you know, because if Eubank loses, there's no coming back.
Yeah.
But for me, I guess this takes it to the next part of the conversation. How do you see Eubank winning, and how do you see Ben win? If there is a way in which you see either of them guys winning.
I'm just thinking about, can Eubank stop a young, relatively fresh, albeit not as powerful as he was when he was enhanced, Conor Benn? I don't know. He can outbox him.
But he's small though. He's so small. Like, I do not feel like that's gonna play a part. And he's so inexperienced. He's never really been hit by someone as good as Eubank.
Yeah, we'll have to see. That's what makes it intriguing, because there's so many questions that are unanswered. Do you know what I'm saying? We don't know about Ben's power. We don't know about Eubank's punch resistance at this point. We don't know about Ben's punch resistance, how he takes a punch. We don't know if Ben can. I don't think Eubank is the best boxing going backwards, but he's definitely better than Ben boxing going backwards. Ben's never had to box going backwards before. So what does he do? You know, does he come in and, you know, we had a conversation with Rance. Does he come in and just try to take him out early? Ben, this is, and if he can't take him out in 4 or 5 rounds, what happens when he gets round 5 or 6?
That's the game plan that they're saying. I've heard Tony Sims say, Eddie Hearn say, and the thing is, it's not even a time where, you know, some people double bluff and they say something that I genuinely believe that's what they're going to try.
He's not good enough to double bluff.
So yeah, facts. Yeah, he's not good enough to double bluff.
No, it's just he hasn't got anything else in his locker.
Yeah,
so
like it's just that rule. He's not good enough to double bluff.
Yeah,
but if that's the case, then it's like you're asking a man who hasn't got a knockout in 3 years, who's fought 2 Y for the D, but D level fighters in his last 2 fights at a lower weight class. Yeah, at a lower weight class, and he hasn't got a stoppage, and you're asking him to move up a weight again to fight a guy who is more experienced and probably more schooled than you, and you're asking him to stop him. I don't see how that makes sense.
Some of the D-level fighters he fought, though, were good, experienced, surviving journeymen. That's what they do. Like, I think one of them had never been stopped before.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, like, they're professional survivors. Do you know what I mean? So they're not going to beat him. But I don't think it looks as bad that he doesn't stop them necessarily.
Why would you have confidence that he's just going to stop Eubank? I guess they say Smith, but Smith is a better fighter than Ben.
Yeah.
What again? There's this thing that they obviously have a narrative that there's things that Conor Benn's doing that we just obviously don't see. They're obviously getting confidence from the sparring and all of that.
Every single time I've seen AJ get knocked out, it was the best camp he's ever had. He's in great shape. It's the best sparring. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, man, that's what it is. Like, man, obviously it's boxing, innit? Like, it's the most mental sport, the most mind game sport there is in the world. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to go there and say, I haven't had a good training camp, whatever. You don't want to give Eubank any confidence. But we are asking Ben to do something that he's never done before. Step up in weight and knock someone out who's far more experienced than him. He's never done it. Do you know what I mean?
He's never even fought nowhere near this level. I can't see any... If you're asking me how Ben wins...
But when you say this level, this is the other question. What level? Right now, other than Chris Eubank Jr.'s name, is he world level? Probably not.
I would say...
Is he European level?
I would say Eubank is fringe world level.
Okay.
And I would say Conor Benn at 147 is fringe world level.
Okay.
You're asking someone who's fringe world level to go up to 160 and fight someone who's fringe world level. So fight someone who's at the same level as you, as it currently stands, but bigger and more experienced.
And you're not fringe world level as a boxer. You're not Madrimov. You're not someone that Madrimov's world level, but like you're not someone that's going to go and win on points. Do you know what I'm saying? Like we're asking you to step up
and knock him out.
Do you know what I mean? Like Canelo can win on points or stop someone. So when he steps up to fight Bivol, we thought Bivol would win, but there's some path to where maybe Canelo can win. You're asking who's a knockout artist? You're asking Benavidez to step up.
No, let's just say, let's take
David Morrell. You're asking David Morrell to step up and go and knock out JL Pataya or someone like that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and if you don't knock him out, you're going to lose. Like, but then when you say it like that, it's like that fight could happen. It's not beyond the realms of possibility that fight does happen. I guess at the lower weight classes, it's a big difference. But Ben blows up. Ben blows up. What's the limit on this? 170?
160 and then £10 rehydration.
170?
Yeah. They'll
both be at 170.
No, I mean, when they actually go into the ring, he's going to be able to rehydrate again because it's not in the arena rehydration, it's next day rehydration. So between, let's say, 10 o'clock in the morning in the fight, he might put on an extra £10, maybe another £5. So he probably. And
I don't even know if that works for him because
I mean, Eubank will be able to.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, in my opinion, I see Conor Benn literally going out like a gun. I see literally going out like a gun and just trying to attack Ben early, and Eubank will try and box early, but I feel like one thing I will say,
it's going to be a fight.
It's going to be a great fight, and the reason why I say it's going to be a great fight because they're both so flawed.
Yeah,
they both make so much mistakes that the other person's going to be able to.
It's going to be the opposite of Bivol Beterbiev. That was a great fight because they're both great. This is a great fight because they're both not
great. Yeah. And they're both gonna find a way to expose. In fact, not even expose. They're gonna have so much
exploit. It's not exposing because we know the flaws. But to exploit.
They're gonna be able. There's gonna be so much flaws that you're gonna be able to exploit it so easily, and there's gonna be so much raw emotion. And for me, the only question mark that I have for Eubank is how much does the rehydration penalty affect him? That's the only question mark. The reason why I say that is because we saw how tight it was at the weight last time and there weren't a rehydration on that. Now there's a rehydration. How much does that affect him? Because it won't affect him like mentally, like he's still going to have as much confidence as ever, but it will affect him physically, like his punch resilience. It might affect his gas tank, which historically has always been.
Mentally. It could affect him mentally. He's very, but fighters generally, but especially him, we've seen him, he's a bit sensitive when he's weight trained. Everyone is. Do you know what I mean? He's not eating, he's it will affect you mentally. Not necessarily mentally as a boxer, but mentally in the preparation or mentally, it's harder to dig deep it's harder to get up and come off the canvas if you're weight trained. All of those things, you just don't have your strength behind you. For the average person, I've had to cut weight for fights before. It's like having a fight when you're at your most starving. Do you know what I mean? Think about the hungriest you've ever been, and then someone saying, "Do you want to go play football right now?" You'd be like, "No, I'm starving. Like I don't want." Do you mean? Imagine being that starving and then.
It does have a mental effect on you as well because your concentration levels are.
Yeah, all of that kind of stuff.
I'm saying? When you're dehydrating, you also dehydrate your brain.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of water weight you lose. So I get that. The only thing is though, I just don't think Conor Benn's good enough to exploit it. I just don't think so. I just don't think Conor Benn's good enough to exploit the mistakes that Eubank will make.
Not only is it's so funny because I see a lot of similarities in current Conor Benn and early Chris Eubank, where not only do I say that Conor Benn is not good enough to exploit the weaknesses that are there, I think Conor Benn believes his own hype and believes that he is. He's not even like some man, I remember like Rocky Fielding fighting Canelo or someone like that, and it's like, yeah, I've got a puncher's chance. Let's see what happens, blood. Do you know what I'm saying? But he kind of knows he's probably going to lose. Of course. Conor Benn didn't believe that. Conor Benn walking in there believing, and it's the same way. Eubank believed in his own hype when he was young.
You know why that's dark? Mm-hmm. You know why that's dark? Because I was going to give a fight which I thought was similar, but then you just brought up a really good point. You know why that's dark? Because when you go to that place where you didn't expect to be, it's even harder to get up.
Yeah.
It's even hard. Like when Devin fought Ryan Garcia and he got dropped, and he's on the canvas,
shock.
It's the shock, like, rotted. How did I get here?
Yeah.
When AJ gets dropped against against Ruiz.
Yeah.
How did I get here?
Yeah. When AJ got dropped against Klitschko, it wasn't a massive surprise. So he was like, okay, we're at that part of the fight.
Facts.
Now we're at the part where I get up and try to win. Whereas, like you say, you never expected him to be dropped.
You know what I'm saying? Like, when Fury got dropped against Wilder, it's easier because this guy's he can crack. This is what it feels like. You know what I'm saying? So if Ben, because of that ignorance, because of that blind confidence, he's not going into that fight thinking if this guy drops me, I'm expecting it. He's going into it as soon as I land, I am going to knock this dude down. What happens if you don't? When you go to that place, what happens then?
And you have nothing else in the toolbox.
Facts.
You haven't prepared for anything else.
Can you imagine, and I'm sorry to use this as an example, but can you imagine if Ryan hits Devin flush with a left hook and he doesn't fall? Can you imagine what that would do to you psychologically?
Yeah.
Can you imagine what it does to both fighters? Can you imagine if Ben hits Eubank flush and Eubank's like, raw, is that it? What confidence does that give me?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's the same thing, though. It works the other way around. Can you imagine if 3 rounds, Eubank's just been ferocious pressure and pressure. Ben's just been putting ferocious pressure and you're expecting him to slow down and he doesn't. But for me, I just think at some stage, and I actually think there's a chance that this fight might end early. I actually think there's a chance that Eubank stops Ben within the first 6 rounds. Because I feel like after the first 2, because I do believe Ben's going to be, he's way more accurate. That's one thing he definitely does have. He's way more accurate. He's also got, I think, he's more a confident fighter because Ben.
Yeah.
When you brought up the identity crisis, I still feel like whilst he maybe has overcome the worst of it, Eubank, he's still not as sure of himself as Eubank is, as Ben is.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's one of those ones where the scale will start like this. Confidence here for Ben, confidence here for Eubank. And once that starts to go like this, once Eubank starts to land and Ben's still there, they start to go like that. And then once, as you said, Ben goes to a place where he's never been before, that's when it's like, you're going to have to show me something. Yeah. You're going to have to show me a level of character that I've never seen. And I can't see him doing anything with that.
If he can win, that will definitely put him at world level for his natural weight.
I'm going to ask you your predictions and we can go into what's next. But who do you think wins that fight and how?
But the logic in me says that Eubank tries to make it ugly, scrappy, survive an early onslaught. Ben isn't a long fighter down the stretch, and the gas tank will go, and focused aggression and smart strategic aggression. Eubank in the later rounds, 8, 9, a very tired Conor Benn, he's going to be so blown up. Eubank
extra weight starts to
weight starts to become a problem for him. Eubank will have the same extra weight, but that's closer to his natural weight. So the extra 10 pounds they rehydrate is a massive benefit to Eubank and a massive deficit to Ben. And I think that I could see that happening. That's the logical scenario in my mind as I see it happening.
You see points?
I see a late stoppage for Eubank. Mid to late rounds, 8, 9, around there, Eubank.
See a late stoppage for Eubank.
But the problem I have with Eubank is that he doesn't do the game plan. He doesn't do that. I don't know that he doesn't come out and just fire with fire. I don't know that he doesn't do that.
But I believe, this is going to be a mad take, but I think even if he does fire with fire, I think he still wins.
He just knocks him out?
I still think he wins. I think even if he holds his feet and fights fire with Ben, I think he still wins that fight. The reason why I feel like he wins that fight is because I don't think emotion don't win you fights, bro. And I think when you have to hold your nerve, I think Eubank's better than that. I think Eubank is I think he's technically insufficient, but I don't think he's psychologically insufficient. I think Eubank is actually quite a cool and calm character in the ring. I feel like he's almost quite calculated. Yeah.
He didn't used to be.
I'm talking about now.
Yeah.
I'm talking about right now. And this version of Eubank, when it comes down to it, if he holds his feet, he's holding his feet because he senses something. Yeah. He knows something or he's felt something in Ben and I feel like, that's why I feel like Ben gets stopped early. Because I feel like, because Ben's going to be so aggressive and he's going to put so much on his shot so early, and I even think he's going to get success. It's almost going to be like a Dubois Hrgovic team.
Yeah. The success he gets is going to give him a false sense of security and a false narrative. He's going to buy into that narrative, and then he's going to get hit back with something. Almost like an AJ Ruiz.
And then when he's in reverse, what does he do?
Yeah,
I can't see him fighting in reverse because at some stage Ben's gonna Eubank will get Ben fighting in reverse at some stage because. I
was going to say this fight's going to be a lot about territory. We're going to see
facts.
The territory is going to give me so much information in this fight. Who's going forwards? Who's going backwards? It's going to tell me. It's going to tell me everything.
I mean, it's very similar to like when you think about like a Joe Frazier and an Ali. I know the levels are so different, but Ali has a jab. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Ben has no jab.
Yeah.
Eubank has a better jab, but I would say Eubank's footwork going back isn't as good as Conor Benn's footwork going forward.
Yeah.
However, the issue is if I can take your shot and you can't take my shot. I feel like when you look at like the reason I use
whoever's going backwards is at a massive disadvantage. There are some fights where if you're walking backwards, you're not necessarily at a disadvantage, not as much. If Canelo fights Benavidez, if Benavidez is going backwards, he's not necessarily in trouble. He's just going backwards, and he wants to try to flick it, so he's going forwards. But it's not devastating. If Conor Benn starts walking backwards, it's devastating.
That's what I'm saying. It is we're at problem stage right now, and I just feel like at some stage Eubank's going to get him going in reverse.
Yeah.
If I'm going to ask you a question when we go to like because I think we'll use next year.
Yeah.
Like what's next?
Yeah, go on.
If Eubank, do you think it's good enough for Eubank to just win on points, or does Eubank have to stop him?
Yeah, he's good enough to win on points.
No. Do you think it's good enough?
Yeah, I think it's good enough.
So he doesn't have to stop him?
I don't think he has to stop him.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think
you don't feel like you fighting a guy who's a career 47, moving up to your weight class. You don't feel like you have to stop him?
Eubank's an old, like not old, but he's coming to the twilight of his career. I don't think that we'll talk about what's next. I don't think he's got big food that's next. It's not like he's waiting on the Canelo fight.
So a win's a win.
A win is a win. There's nothing that's going to be damaged. I don't think Eubank's image or boxing credibility or anything like that is damaged by beating Conor Benn on points. Like I said, I don't know. You said Eubank is fringe world level at his natural weight. I don't know about that. I don't. You know, I think he's a long way off. Fringe world level means that you go and fight the world champions at your weight class and you are the underdog, but there's a window of opportunity for you. I
think because and this it kind of goes back to my point with Ben. Because I was going to ask you what's next for both fighters. And for me, you might be right because he's probably looking at... I think in a long term...
There's not a world champion that Chris can beat at 160 or 160.
I was going to get onto that. But I think, Conor Benn, it might actually be better for Eubank to win on points. Let me tell you why. If he wins on points, there's a better chance of getting a rematch, which is the big money. If he blasts Conor Benn out in 5 rounds, no one's going to buy into that.
That was exactly the point I was going to make. That's why I said to you earlier, like when I said, let's talk about what's next. I think that the rematch will probably be what's next. And it depending on how it loses, because that will be the biggest money fight for them.
So maybe it could be a case of like Ben trying to carry...
Or if Ben even knocks him down at some point and then he gets up to win, then we get a rematch. It needs to be an entertaining and competitive fight. Do you know what I mean? But like I said, the fringe world level, I look at Ben against and to be fair, maybe I'm trying to think of the world champions. I think that Ben's probably at a better weight class in terms of world champions.
No, I don't think so. I think, and this is me keeping it real, and the first time I've said it on camera. I think if Ben wins this fight, Ben has to stay at middleweight. I think Ben has to stay at middleweight. I think if Ben...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There are better world champions at Ben's weight class naturally than there are at Eubank's weight class. So he is, if they're both fringe world level at their weight class, that's more impressive for Ben because he's got the better world champions.
1,000,000%.
Eubank's at a much weaker weight class. Facts. So if for Eubank, who's fought at world level, to still be fringe world level at that weight class with relatively weaker champions, facts. That for me is that's saying something.
Facts, and that's a straight fact because
only facts.
Only facts. You know what I'm saying? But if you look at like the reason why I say I'd rather see like people are saying Ben's gonna go up from 60 and go back down to 47. One, it never works. We saw Golovkin do it. If you lose to Ben, if you lose to Eubank, you going back from 60 to 47. Wait, you're gonna go fight Boots? You know what I'm saying? What are you gonna do if you go down to 54? You're gonna fight Virgil or Fandora or Madrimov. Who you gonna? You know what I'm saying? You lose to those guys anyway. You might as well stay at 60. And 60, the 160-pound division is so weak in the sense that you still got a 40-year-old Erislandy Lara as a world champion.
Erislandy Lara.
And you got Adames, who's a career 54 as well. Yeah. Obviously, none of them are gonna fight Yanabet. Cool, but. At my mind, I'm thinking, bro, I would just wait and stay at 60 because it's very unhealthy for Ben. Because even if
if Ben can win, Ben versus Adames could fight.
Yeah,
Adames has.
Or maybe him versus Erislandy Lara. If Ben wins,
Erislandy Lara a really easier fight.
Yeah, but you can get a world title. For me,
get a world title and then try and get unification against Adames.
Yeah, so you know what I'm saying? You said you wanted to be a world champion. If I'm Ben or Eubank, I'm saying the easiest method of winning a world title is at 60.
Yeah.
If Ben goes down to, even if Ben didn't go up to 60, I still wouldn't pick him to beat
At 60, he's got Erislandy Lara, Carlos Adames, Yanabek. At 54, he's got Fandora. And he's got Crawford.
Barkram, Madrimov. And Barkram is there.
Yeah, and Barkram as well.
Also...
And then Virgil Ortiz is the junior interim. And then at 147, which is his natural weight, would you say?
He hasn't fought it in 3 years.
Then he's got Mario Barrios, Jaron Ennis, and Brian Norman Jr.
Yeah. Brian Norman Jr. and Boots are probably going to fight next. So by that time, if they had a 2-fight deal, by that time, Boots would probably have 3 belts.
Yeah.
So... even if you didn't move up to 60, I wouldn't pick you to beat none of those guys.
Yeah.
Even if you didn't. Now you're going to... You know, I'll pick... Look what happened to Roy. Roy went up to heavyweight, came back down, he got knocked out. Kell Brook went up to middleweight, came back down, he got knocked out. At the end of the day, you haven't fought at 47 for 3 years. That's one thing I would say Eubank Sr. got right. Eubank Sr. said Conor Benn has ruined his career. And I feel like he has. He's ruined his career because I'm genuinely being honest. He believes that he can go back from 60 to 47 and win a world title. And in my mind, I can't see that.
Yeah.
I can't see that. So for me, this is my advice to both Eubank and Ben. Your future should stay at 60. You should stay at 60 and see if you can get a world title there. The winner and loser for both of them. But you are right. Probably would you get a rematch out of it?
That's going to be the biggest money. You know, Ben, look at the money he's going to make for this. Look at a fight for maybe Erislandy Lara. It's not going to come close to that kind of money. Carlos Adames at least has some name recognition because he fought Hamza Shiraz, so he's known to a British audience. Maybe that ends up on a Riyadh season card somewhere. But Ben's headlining. He's not going to want to take the money that's going to be on a undercard fight, especially if it's a world title.
He did say he done interviews where he said it's money over belts, isn't it? I mean, Eubank's been saying that.
That's easy, but that's easy to say for someone that can't win belts anyway. So it's money over belts for me as well. Do you know what I mean? You can't win a belt, so that's just, do you know what I mean? That's like Arsenal saying finishing second is better than the Champions League, but you can't win a Champions League. So that's of course you're going to say that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like so that's what it is. But again, this would be Ben's first fight at
60,
but even at like close to world level, and he turns 29 this year. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's not young.
No, not.
Do you know what I'm saying? So he's not old. Don't get me wrong, but he's not young either. So that's where we're at.
Trust me. I mean, going back down to 47 is a no-go. That's the first thing I would say. Even if he knocks Ben out, if he knocks Eubank out clean, knocks him out cold, clean, I don't advise it. If you lose, I would still say you got to stay at 60.
It's also just better people. But knocking out, forget about the size. Knocking out Chris Eubank Jr. and then going to fight Fandora they're two different things.
Facts.
They're two totally different things.
Facts.
I would not take enough confidence from knocking out Chris Eubank Jr. to think I can go and fight Terence Crawford. That's an entire different scenario.
Same thing.
Terence Crawford's stronger than both of you. He's smaller and stronger than you.
And technically better
than you. He's better than you in every possible department.
Literally. Okay. And I think that's the same for Virgil, and I think that's the same for Boots.
Yeah.
And I feel like, whereas if you do beat a Eubank, you might have a confidence say, well, you beat an aging Eubank, maybe I might be able to beat an aging Erislandy Lara. Yeah. So for me, that's what I'm doing. If I'm Eubank though, and I win, I'm thinking, bro, obviously get a rematch. So I feel like he might have to preserve this win so he gets a rematch out of it.
Yeah.
And then obviously look to either retire or maybe try and get the Canelo fight.
I hope we don't see an early stoppage.
Yeah, I said that the other day. I
hope we don't see an early stoppage.
If you do see an early stoppage, you're definitely getting a rematch.
That's what I was going to say. I don't want the ref to have received the script that
we want a rematch.
A rematch would be the best option for everyone, and then we see it.
Kind of like a Groves Froch.
Yeah.
When Groves got stopped early.
Yeah.
And then we got to do the 80,000 now, innit? Like,
yeah.
You saw the script from before.
100%. Let's talk about so I gave my prediction. My prediction: Chris Eubank Jr. stops him in the mid to late rounds. Like I said, 7, 8, 9, somewhere around there. Your prediction, and we'll move on to the undercard.
Eubank wins by stoppage in, I want to say, the 5th or 6th round.
Okay, so you're going earlier than me.
I think Eubank hurts him early, and then we start seeing Ben go in reverse, and then just dismantles him.
Let's talk about the undercard.
Mm-hmm.
Should we go from bottom to top or top to bottom? Pause.
I think what I want to start off with... In fact, we can go from bottom to top.
Okay. Vidal Riley, Shay Clark.
Chev Clark, for me, I think Vidal Riley wins that fight, but I think it's a good fight. I think
Vidal Riley's the person I said is in the best possible position in boxing. Do you know what I mean?
Because
he's able to jump in between influencer boxing, pro boxing. He can do what he wants.
I'm saying Chev Clark's coming off a loss.
I think you're right.
I want to say if it's not a loss, it's a controversial fight. I want to just check that. I think Chev Clark's coming off a loss.
Yeah, split decision loss.
Who did he fight?
Leonardo Mosquera.
Yeah, I remember that was on the undercard and it was a controversial loss, but he lost on the cards. I remember that fight.
Yeah.
For me, Vidal Riley's just way more of a schooled fighter. And I'm not even saying that because he comes from my area, because I didn't even know that he came from North London, you know. I didn't even
That's what I'm.
Yeah, I didn't know that. But I just think he's a more schooled fighter. But it will be an entertaining fight because Chev Clark...
It's 7 years younger. Chev Clark's 34.
Yeah.
Vidal Riley's only 27.
But Chev Clark's got power though.
Yeah.
Chev Clark does have power. I think he's won all of his fights by stoppage. So he does have like good power.
Yeah.
And I guess Vidal Riley probably has to watch...
Well, 10 wins, 7 knockouts. So not all of them. But
okay.
Good. Yeah.
But Chev Clark has got a lot of power and he will carry that power early. But once that fight goes past 5 and 6, we'll start to see Vidal Riley just take over.
Yeah.
I think Vidal Riley wins on points.
And Vidal's also, he's 12 fights, but 7 knockouts as well. So not quite as many knockouts, but it's pretty close. Their records are pretty similar. Who's fought at a higher level?
I think they both fought at similar levels.
Yeah.
That's why the fight is so good. And I feel like because Chev Clark's coming off a loss, he's like, it's almost like, you're so old, you can't do the rebuild. Yeah. You have to just go back in the deep end. You know, like the Mexican fighters, Margarito, Mayorga, when they lost, they were fighting another big fight and the next fight. You kind of have to do it that way. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah. What's the long-term plan for Vidal? Because he's at cruiserweight.
I think it's one of those ones where you got to just continue keep building his profile, because cruiserweight historically has never really been a division that
it's not the glamour
division.
Yeah.
But what you can do is you can build your own legacy out of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you think about respectable cruiserweights, you know, like the Johnny Nelsons, even David Haye, for example. You know, these guys won't go down as Hall of Famers, but they've still got a respectable career. And I feel he's the same, you know. I think it's unfortunate because a lot of the guys who you might want to see him with, whether it's the Riakpors, the Okolis, do you know what I'm saying? They've moved to heavyweight, and I don't think you're ready for heavyweight. So it's almost okay, and you can't fight Opataya, you can't fight Zerdo. You're not ready for that level. So it's almost like you just got to keep building and growing. And this is a great fight to build.
Yeah, it's a really good build,
and a good card. You know what I'm saying? A really big card.
Yeah,
you know I'm saying so.
It's a good fight for the bottom of the undercard as well.
You know,
we're likely to see a stoppage there.
You think so?
I think so.
Potentially, I actually think Vidal Riley wins on points because I feel like he feels the power of Chev Clark early and say, you know what, because I'm such a better boxer than him. But he always got a chance because Chev Clark's going to keep coming, he's going to keep going forward and pressing the pace. So.
Okay. Now, one of my least favourite fighters in the UK, that's unfair. He's a nice guy.
He beefy.
Chris Billam-Smith.
Oh my god.
Chris Billam-Smith. And he's a nice guy. Like, it's not like it's just a box. It's just a style.
It's a style.
It's just ugly. But he's taken on the American. He's taken on Brandon Glanton, which is what a name that is. 20 wins, 22 fights, 20 wins, 17 KOs. And he's lost 2 fights, both on points.
Who's the 2 fights that he lost to?
David Light.
Okay.
And he lost in the fight Sazlan Asbarov.
I don't know who that is.
He's 3-0, that guy.
David Light. Who did David Light fight? There's someone that I know David Light fought and he lost that fight. I can't remember, but it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah. To be fair, David Light, the 2 fights he's lost, they're both unbeaten guys. David Light, 19-0.
Who did David? Who?
I'll have a look now. But the Sazlan loss is
someone David Light.
Or the Soslan loss is pretty bad.
David Light lost to someone recently.
Okoli.
Lawrence Okoli, that's it. I knew he lost to someone recently because that name was familiar. But what was he saying?
Chris Billam Smith against Brandon Glanton.
It's a what's it called? It's a good build fight for Billam Smith. He lost his world title to Zerdo Ramirez. He got walked down in that fight. What weight class is this fight going to be for? At cruiserweight still?
Yeah.
Okay, so he doesn't have any immediate ambitions to move to heavyweight. I guess he's just trying to rebuild himself back, and this is a good fight to rebuild himself back on. It's a good card to rebuild himself back on. I mean, you mentioned Vidal Riley. I can see maybe in a year's time, Vidal Riley versus Chris Billam
That'd be
Smith.
a good name for Vidal Riley to have in his record. Chris Billam Smith's going to be 35 this year. Vidal Riley's 27.
But the thing is, with Chris Billam Smith, it's just about he just needs to make as much money as possible because he's already overachieved. He's won a world title.
Yeah.
With his limited skill level,
yeah.
What more could you have actually asked for?
He's a little bit lucky with the timing and stuff like that, to be fair.
Facts. I mean, 5 years earlier, he would have never won a world title. When Usyk and Bradis was at the weight class, he would have never won a world title. But again, time is everything, and he won a world title. All you need to really do is make as much money as possible. So I'm not really looking at Billam Smith as, he's going to be a world beater again or anything. He's just about making money. And I guess it's a decent fight.
Yeah, be an entertaining fight. What do you reckon there? Prediction-wise?
Billam Smith on points. Billam Smith couldn't knock anyone out.
Yeah.
Billam Smith ain't knocking nobody out. He's going to hug you. He's going to tie you up.
He knocks out the audience.
Trust me.
But there you go. I wouldn't mind seeing Brandon win by stoppage just for the drama.
I mean, it'd be a good way to just... I don't even care.
No,
I don't even care.
That's the fight we probably care about the least on the card. Then you got beefy Liam Smith, Aaron McKenna, middleweight.
This is a good fight because I think
he's got to be seething to be on Eubank's undercard.
I think Liam Smith's similar to Chris Billam Smith in the sense that they're just fighting for money at this stage, bro. Liam Smith has accomplished everything that he would ever accomplish. Every time he stepped up to the really elite level, whether it's Jaime Munguia, whether it's Canelo Alvarez, you got stopped. Do you know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, you already know your limitations. So what are you fighting for? Maybe he can fight. He's at middleweight now, isn't it? And you know what's so funny, Nick? I realized this the other day. Eris Lara, Carlos Adames, and Beefy Smith are 3 fighters who fell that super welterweight, saw the super welterweight division and thought, you know what? Let me move to middleweight and see if I can win a world title 100%. There. Some of the ones are like, I ain't trying to fight Crawford or Fondora or Virgil. Let me move to 60, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like it's one of those ones where he's like, you know what? He's just probably just fighting for the check, innit? I don't really feel like there's any deeper ambitions.
Yeah.
He's got more ambitions for his brother.
Yeah. I know I keep bringing up the ages. He's turning 37 in July. So, you know.
Make as much food as possible,
make as much money as you can. He's had a pretty solid career.
Facts.
Aaron McKenna, what are your thoughts on him?
If I'm Aaron McKenna, I'm looking at this as an opportunity to try and make a name for myself. Liam Smith's coming off not a great performance against Chris. Yeah. So, and obviously he's always had injuries. So if I'm Aaron McKenna, I'm like, if I can stop Liam Smith or if I can beat him in better fashion than other fighters have, then maybe I might have a... But it's going to be a tear-up because they're both going to come forward and...
McKenna's Irish, so we know what he's going to do.
Yeah, it's going to be straight in the pocket. And it's going to be ones for the casuals, you know? Really to whet British. The appetite.
I don't know, it says McKenna's from Ireland, so I don't know if he doesn't count as British.
Yeah, but yeah, it's going to be one of those ones that's going to whet the appetite of the general public to get them prepared for the co-main and meet.
Yeah. Co-main event.
This is a great fight.
I hate these co-main event things, man. There's a co-main event every card.
Yeah.
But it's trash. They didn't used to be like this.
What do you mean?
The co-main event used to only happen if there was like a fight that was like almost the same size, but not quite as big.
I get you, but I guess in this case...
It didn't used to be co-main events on every card.
I guess it's just because... It's still not on every card.
Every card we covered as a co-main.
No, not on every...
Liam Cameron, Ben Whittaker had a co-main event. That's ridiculous.
No, but I feel like, it's also a case of marketing purposes. Because when you watch those PBC cards, they have co-main events and they're actually good. But some cards, they're just
trash.
Yeah, there's just not.
Or a fight that's way smaller. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, facts.
This
is a good fight.
Anthony Yard, Lyndon Arthur 3.
This is a good fight, bro. This is actually a good fight.
It will be a good fight. Don't get me wrong. It will be a good fight. Co-main event, I'm not sure that I see that. But then again, do you know what? Do you know why it is a co-main event, to be fair? Because the main event is not even like a world title.
Facts. So. And Anthony Yard is probably the only one on that card that's actually a world level fighter as it currently stands. You know, and his ambitions are if he beats Lyndon Arthur in good fashion, I'm hearing he might fight Benavidez in a fight. Do you know what I'm saying?
That'd be a really good fight.
Exactly. Do you know what I'm saying? I can't see.
I think, Anthony Yard's style would mesh really well with American fighters.
Facts.
In my opinion.
100%.
The Eastern European fighters, they're not good for him. We've
seen
that already.
Well,
I know we fought well, but the styles aren't good for him, and obviously that's not just why it's after the event, but that focused aggression. If he can be aggressive pick the right moments to be aggressive, the Americans kind of
Mexicans,
like Latin American. I know Benavidez is like Mexican but American. That kind of style, I think, could make for a really interesting,
very much so,
entertaining
because he will have the athletic advantages.
Yeah,
he would be faster. He was faster than Kovalev and Beterbiev, but they have so much good boxing fundamentals.
Yeah,
like that amateur's pedigree.
I don't think he was that much faster than Beterbiev.
I think he was that much faster than Beterbiev, specifically in terms of his overall hand speed.
Yeah.
But obviously because of Beterbiev's boxing IQ, it was able to negate that. I don't think Benavidez has that boxing IQ, and neither do I think Lyndon Arthur does. Yeah. So now it becomes a fight of attrition.
I'd like to see Lyndon Arthur fight Ben Whittaker.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't think Ben Whittaker's ready for that fight.
Maybe not.
But if you're asking me who I think wins, I think it's a good fight though. I think it's a good third fight. I think after what I saw in the second fight, Anthony Yard just washed him, just walked through him, destroyed him. Yeah. I can't see it being any other way. You know what I'm saying? And since then, I think Lyndon Arthur's had, I think he had the fight against Bivol where he pretty much just came to survive, and I feel like against Yard he's gonna do the same thing, just pretty much come to survive.
That's what I think. Lyndon Arthur now is not the Lyndon Arthur of before.
The one that beat Yard in the first place.
He's not the same. Yeah, he's not the
same. Sometimes it's like when you're aware of your mortality, innit?
Yeah.
Like when Yard beat him, it almost made him afraid to throw punches. That's why when he fought Bivol, he was afraid to throw punches. Yeah. And I feel like it's going to be the same thing. He hasn't done anything to... But because it's Yard's an exciting fight, I still think it's going to be a good fight, So it's a good fight to be on the undercard.
Do we think that he's there to win, though? Lyndon Arthur?
Lyndon Arthur?
Yeah. How game is he at this point?
I don't know. That's a good question.
That's why I wonder. That's why I think him versus Ben Whittaker, if you're Ben Whittaker... Lyndon Arthur's not food, but he's a beatable opponent.
It depends on the approach in this fight, because in my opinion, Yard has to look good. If you got Benavidez on the horizon, you have to look good. If you look good, it's boom. I can go and shout from the rooftops. If you have a tough fight with Lyndon Arthur, it's difficult to do that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm if I'm Yard, I'm gonna try and impose my will early. And I'm if Lyndon Arthur feels that power early, he might just burn it, bro. Do you know what I'm saying? He might just this is what am I here for? And I can see that happening. You know what I'm saying? If he gets brought to that dark place early and he looks up at the screen and it says round 1, 30 seconds left, and I got 12 more rounds of this. What's the point? You know what I'm saying? I kind of feel like it might be a case of him just. I don't say he will quit. But you might just see it.
How much motivation?
You know what I'm saying? How much motivation does he have? But I guess maybe you were right. Because if I'm Ben Whittaker, I might say going rounds with Lyndon Arthur might be, a good name on my resume.
Yeah, I think so. Depending on how impressive he looks. Can Lyndon Arthur try to weather the storm? The 3 losses that Yard has are like the only 3 times he's fought 12 rounds. I know he stepped up in quality. Kovalev is just better. Beterbiev is just better. And I know he fought well, but Gas Tank, 12 rounds.
I
try to take him late.
Arthur has to take the confidence that I've already beat Yard. Now, it was a Yard that had his father passing away and the COVID and all of that. So you got to take that into consideration. But I've already beat you. You get what I'm saying? And you have to, somehow you have to find it within yourself to use that as motivation. And when it does get tough, you have to think, I can get through this. And we'll see. I don't see it though. I see Yard winning by an early stoppage again.
Yeah, early stoppage. I see a mid stoppage. I'm hoping, again, for...
But sorry to cut you off. Yeah. You know what might be hard though? If Yard washed him, the second fight Yard washed him, and let's say it's round...
How much confidence?
Yeah, I'm saying.
That's what I'm trying to say.
If it's round 4 and I ain't knocked him out yet, maybe Lyndon Arthur can get a bit of confidence.
And with Yard, we know the famous empty the gas tank. Fact. I'm not saying he's gonna empty the gas tank, but we know that his gas tank isn't necessarily the best. Do you know what I mean? If you can just try and tie him up, make it ugly, and just try and get him down...
Maybe Yard might think... Maybe because Yard's thinking Benavidez, he might be thinking, let me put on a performance.
The more he tries to put on a performance, there'll be opportunities for you to try and get him when he's injured. You can try and weather that storm. So I still think that Yard wins, but I think maybe more towards the middle round.
That's a good point.
Because Lyndon has to show some better survival ability. You go and stand in the pocket and trade with Yard, you're going to sleep very early. Quick. That's the same with most fighters in the world at that weight class. So, but yeah, that trying to put on a performance thing, Yard still, he's been up and down in his career, but he still wants those big fights. Facts. The motivation is there for him to put on those big fights, but he does need good performances for the sake of, we can't have media packages of him and Benavidez with knockouts from 4 years ago. No. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need stuff that's recent to really kind of sell this fight. And Yard's not a great talker or promoter of fights either. For someone who's like his athletic,
I get what you mean. I get what you mean.
He's probably the least shit talking, knockout punching black man the sport has ever seen.
I get what you mean.
Do you know what I mean?
Maybe like an AJ. You know what I'm saying? Similar to AJ was a shit talker as well. AJ was a shit talker. I don't know.
AJ's resume did the talking for him.
Fact.
And you know what I'm saying? He was just fighting bare world champions, collecting belts. He had Eddie Hearn, but I'm saying like AJ was unified world champion after 15 fights. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we were waiting ages for Yard to step up, and when Yard did step up, he lost. So Yard is like 35, still talking about timing is everything. I reckon his gal is probably waiting for a wedding ring for 10 years. You know what I'm saying? And he's just there with Tunde saying timing is everything. We got lions in the camp. Do you know what I'm saying? That's all he's gonna say. When are we gonna have babies? Timing is everything. This motherfucker, I could write a bingo card of things that even if he wins, he's gonna win. He'll knock at it. Yard, what does this mean to you? Listen, man, timing is everything. You know what he's gonna say? This motherfucker got 3 phrases.
You know what you're gonna do? You gotta play a drinking game, bro. 100%. Be drunk.
100%, bro. Do you know what I'm saying? If you beating this gal, it's gonna do. When you gonna bust and tell her timing is everything? This motherfucker is just so predictable. This guy is so predictable with what he says, bro. He's got 3 like Woody. He's got 3 program responses.
He just pulled a string, fam. 100%. I got a steak in my boot.
100%, bro. For the string, and he just says timing is everything. Ridiculous, bro.
Yo.
But yeah, so I like to seeing him, Benavidez. I think him versus David Morrell. I know David Morrell coming off a loss. Him versus David Morrell would be a great fight stylistically.
Great fight.
Boatsi's still there. Boatsi versus
Yard.
Boatsi versus Morrell would be a great fight. If Benavidez and Yard fight, both come off of wins, and then you have Morrell versus
Callum Smith.
Callum Smith is still there as well. There's some good fights at that division for those guys. And unfortunately, Benavidez is looking at world titles, and he's that. Was he interim or something like that?
He's actually been elevated.
He's elevated to full world champion. And these guys, unfortunately, are just a level below. You've got to really overpay to get Benavidez to go and take these fights. But if they can make those fights happen, then is Yard back with Warren now, and everything's kind of smoothed over?
I actually don't know.
Yeah,
I actually don't know.
That's going to be interesting.
I know this is a Riyadh season event, so.
They're all on Riyadh season, so it's just like...
I mean, apparently Usyk the bar might not be. But
I'm saying all the promoters are with Riyadh season. Seeing the fighter on it doesn't tell me who he's with necessarily.
And it's difficult to say. Difficult to say.
Yes, we'll see. I mean, Frank's going to be there, so we'll see.
Is he? Is Frank going to be there?
Frank should. Oh, sorry, not Frank. No, Frank's not going to be there. Sorry, I thought there were Frank Warren fighters on there.
I was thinking, is there Frank? Right. I mean, Lindenhoff isn't Lindenhoff a Frank Warren fighter? Is Lindenhoff not a Frank Warren fighter? I think Lindenhoff is a Frank Warren fighter.
Maybe
Lindenhoff.
They should all be there. They should all be there. So we'll see, because they had some frosty situation. I heard that it was kind of patched up.
Yeah, I heard it was patched up as well.
But I don't know. But yeah, so Yard. I think middle rounds. Again, I'd like to see Lindenhoff, make it competitive and try and get some good food after that. But who knows, bro? Who knows? But yeah, man, we're going to be live. Yeah, we're going to be live on Saturday night. What time are we going live, roughly? Like, because what I'm trying to say is, like, we're going live for this whole card, right?
I don't know.
From Vidal Riley.
Do
you want to go live for that or no?
I guess we'll be live for from 7:45.
Okay.
Because I'm assuming the main event's going to be 10:30. So if the main event's at 10:30, 3 fights back, I would probably say 7:45.
Man's gonna have to stack up on pizza and wings for this.
Or do you want to do it later? Do you want to go live later? 8 o'clock.
But I'm saying, I want to watch these 5 fights. These 5 fights we just talked about, I wouldn't mind watching them. So what time would we? We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll be live.
We'll be live. Saturday night we'll be live,
and it'll be in the description. So by the time this video actually goes out, we would have already decided.
Yeah. So definitely, what you can do, click on the link in the live. So we're going to schedule the live. So click on the link so that you can be here as soon as we go live. We're going to be covering the whole card, and this is pretty much taking up the whole show, blood. You know what I'm saying? But this is it. Yeah. This is whether we like it or not, the biggest British fight of the year so far. Very likely to be the biggest British fight of the year entirely, unless we get an AJ Dubois rematch, something like that. But that looks unlikely.
Or maybe AJ Fury. That looks unlikely.
Definitely unlikely. So this could be the biggest British fight and maybe the biggest British card of the entire year. Facts. So make sure that you lock in. Do you know what I'm saying?
We're going to be here, of course. I know you guys are going to be here because you guys have been supporting recently.
The supporters are huge. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel as well. We're on the road to 2K. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers as soon as possible. So please do help us and make that happen. Click the bell notification as well and all them things there. And that's it, man. We'll see you, man, Saturday night. We're out.